albeit a little delayed, welcome to the June episode of the Wiseguys Sports Show here on the JC24 Sports Note. I am your host, Jim Crinity, and we're actually going to bring in my partner, Mike Martinez. Michael, how you doing, my buddy?
I'm good, and I'm glad we wore the same shirt.
But there's more. We're not the only ones on tonight.
We're exposing someone else.
In the last couple of days, I got a phone call from Mike on the way home from work the other night. And this is, as you can see, Wiseguys June 22 called Free For All. And there's a reason for that. And you're going to see that in the second half of the show. Unscripted, uncensored tonight, definitely uncensored. And we're going to get to that here in just a second. But we're going to bring in one of our closest friends here. He's been with us before. We are going to bring in the one, the only, Alex Ruiz from Row 7. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, guys? How are we doing tonight?
Can't complain, but there's still a lot of time left. Let's be honest.
There's time to complain.
I use that at work every day.
My favorite is on Wednesday. It's the good news is the week is half over. The bad news is the week is only half over.
I can't stand the hump day things from Geico because Mike. I cannot stomach that.
My old partner retired 6 years ago, and she still texts me relatively regularly for that. It's a shame I love her so much just because I block her just for that.
Right? Hold on, my cursor's right over my face. It looks funny. Sorry.
So, fellas, first of all, the reason why we're doing this here tonight, this was actually supposed to be happening last week. And then, Mike, would you like to explain very quickly?
Well, I had the 18-year-old was getting over. He had strep and tonsillitis all at the same time.
Wow.
Not only that, Sunday we spent some time getting IV fluids, IV steroids. He got amoxicillin on Friday and kept calling it acetaminophen. So when they hung the acetaminophen on Sunday, I fell out laughing. So yeah, it was rough with Sackett, and Steph wasn't feeling so hot either. So I had asked Jim, I said, listen, let's put this off a week. And then you, my friend, started throwing a lot of shade at your favorite baseball team. And I said, oh, Alex would be fun to have on this weekend. So, and I can't stand, I have such a glare off my head, it's not even funny.
Yeah, it's probably also a little too humid and a little too warm to throw the ball cap on.
It may have to happen. I might break the camera.
The other reason we're on our channel tonight is, again, this is going to be a free-for-all. Mike, we can see what you're drinking. Alex, you drinking anything?
We got a little something special in this little cup right here.
And in all seriousness, I'd have the Angry Orchard, which, by the way, tastes a little too much like beer for my taste, but it's actually really good. Again, I've been up since about 4:30. I need the caffeine, boys.
I get it.
And if I put the makers in it, I'd fall asleep.
That's not bad.
Really? I got to try that.
I have like gallons of Arnold Palmer because I don't drink pop anymore. That's not bad. It's basically like Arnold Palmer, except it's got a little bit of very, very like little carbonation behind it, but not enough to make it feel like seltzer. But you could definitely tell there's a little bit of a kick or a spike in it. It's kind of like it reminds me almost of like Mike's Hard, not Mike's Harder, because that can's in the fridge and that's getting drunk tomorrow. And I got a story about that a little bit later on that, Mike, you're going to enjoy, and Alex, you're going to appreciate. But it definitely tastes a lot more like Mike's Hard, except it's got the lemonade's not as strong.
Okay, as long as you don't say White Claw, I'm good.
No, I can't drink straight seltzers like that.
I can't.
There's just something about them. So as you guys have noticed, the little graphic overlay on the bottom here, I was kind of, dicking around with earlier today. There's another aspect of that. So we're going to jump into our first segment for tonight. We're going to break things up a little bit. We've got 3 very, very quick segments. And then the last half of this is basically just the 3 of us just dicking around. We've got a couple of topics Mike actually was gonna discuss when we were gonna do our Memorial Day weekend show last week, and Mike will actually be taking over some of that here. But the first topic we're going to go into tonight, as you can see, is called Deshaun of the Dead.
Wait, hold on. Did you hear what his attorney said?
Mike, I live in Cleveland, and the only radio station outside of MMS I listen to is 92.3, and I actually even put on Riz earlier this week. You think I haven't heard it yet? Yes, I did stomach Goldhammer.
First, again, I tell him all the time on Twitter, and if he ever heard this, I'll tell him to his face. Go back to Denver, for God's sake. Go back to Denver.
Yeah.
Alex, the one host on Cleveland Sports Talk Radio, Aaron
Yes,
Goldhammer, is from Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell him that constantly because I am tired of the hate that spews from his mouth, not only about who Jim affectionately calls overrated state, but also about our beloved Baker Mayfield. So I don't know. Did you hear what his attorney said?
I didn't. I was gonna get into it here in just a second.
Apparently, according to Deshaun Watson's attorney, and I quote, "Getting a happy ending at the end is not a crime." Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh.
Now listen.
I did hear that, and it was in passing.
I know everything is bigger in Texas, but I didn't think the fucking stupid was bigger in Texas. Does he not realize this is a court of public opinion thing?
Wow.
He froze.
Everything is bigger in Texas, including the women and the men.
I can't even.
I'm coming back. It's back.
Good. Now, Alex, I got to ask you this because we have vested interest in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wore the brown shirt tonight with the big orange dog face on it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm not giving that some bitch the satisfaction. As an outsider, with a stable quarterback room for the first time in forever. Side note, NFL put out this thing. Your month of your birth is what position you played, and the team you played is the day. I got tight end in the Chicago Bears. And I thought of you.
Well, you would be like number 75 on the roster.
I'll take it. So, Alex, as somebody from not inside Cleveland, what do you think of the debacle that is the Cleveland Browns quarterback?
It looks bad. It's bad. I thought, listen, I've lived a pretty good life, and there's some of those years have been terrible because I support the Bears for whatever reason, bloodline, just because I have to, because it's easy. But when I've kind of seen this play out, I'm just like, these guys are kind of fucked. And I don't know that the Cleveland Browns have fully realized it yet, considering the fact that they gave him all that money. But this is a situation that I don't want to be a part of. And as an outsider looking in, being that you guys are Browns fan, or more so, Mike, you're a Browns fan. I was kind of started to follow them more. Picked a couple of them up on my fantasy team, and just kind of got a vested interest because I'm just like, I can get behind this team. This is a team that I can support. And now I'm just looking at I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna back up a little bit and just kind of look at this from like a 10,000-foot view and see how it plays out. But right now, it does not look good at all. So I'm curious to see what your takes are on the whole situation that's kind of unfolding as we speak.
Michael?
Well, actually, if you saw our last Unfiltered episode, which, Jim, by the way, I didn't notice you put the parental advisory explicit lyrics thing on the bottom. Very nicely done, sir.
I tried to get it set up here, and I could not upload the graphic for whatever reason. I was trying to get a video.
Dude. It's all good, dude. That was the majority of our show. And I asked Jim. He's only seen me angry one other time, and that's the day he told me the Knicks traded Patrick Ewing. Heated. And I am not, and I said it before, I am not a Baker bro. I root for the front of the jersey, not the back. But, Alex, I'm going to ask you this. Did he win a gold medal, Jim?
He did,
yes. So, let me ask you this. The scenario I came up with for this to avoid looking stupid and putting yourself into salary cap fuckery was let Baker play out the year at 18.9, 19 million. And at the end of the year, if he had a 2020 type season when you're 11-5, this year probably 12-5 with a third place schedule, you're going to get in the playoffs. You're probably going to get Cleveland's first home playoff game since 1994. You offer him 29 to 30 a year. You give him a Bobby Bonilla type contract and say, starting the first day you retire, we'll pay you $5 million a year for 20 years. And you're not committing that, and you draft a wide receiver at 13 instead of sending 3 years of number one picks. Because if Baker says no to that deal, you trade the 2 number ones to whoever gets the first pick and you draft CJ Stroud. You don't put yourself in salary cap hell. You avoid this PR absolute nonsense. And you don't hamstring your franchise for the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to get to the point where if he gets what I think he's going to get for the next thing I'm going to bring up to you two, Jimmy Haslam will have to sell the franchise.
Yeah, and that's it. And I'll let you jump in real quick because that's a question that I want to ask you guys. Because the way that I'm looking at it, they actually talked about it here in Chicago radio. Either Thursday or Friday, and I meant to reach out to both of you guys, but time went by. And one of the questions was a shot, or it's the segment called "Shot or No Shot," over under Deshaun Watson playing 8 games this season.
Under, way under.
Especially now that that 22 jersey that I could have ordered from NFLshop.com is now up to my jersey number, and I'm almost kind of hoping another one shows up because he doesn't have to wear it anymore.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to disrespect Jim Thome like that.
Same number, different city, but at least, I mean, the funny thing is he blew right past LeBron and went straight for Chris Mim.
Oh, wow. We got a Chris Mim reference 12 minutes in?
I couldn't think of any other, Sizemore? But then, we actually have to reference, Alex here
Manny.
because he's the one with the coffee cup.
Manny
Ramirez, yeah.
24.
Way back when, yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland.
I was a little bit more leaning towards Sizemore because Goldhammer with all the shit with Goldhammer's wife and Sizemore.
No.
You remember that.
Not the Jose Mesa and Carlos no, it's not Jose Mesa's wife and Carlos Baerga stuff.
Not necessarily, but it was like I think she was in the locker room or something like after God, I can't even remember what year it was, but they were in the locker room.
07.
Might have been. I think he did like the Derek Jeter douser with champagne type thing or something like that. And Hammer, I think, had just gotten engaged to her.
Stop it.
If story serves correct, I'm always going to be a little partial to the little ball of hate, just because of his anti-Ohio State love. But then also remember, getting back to Goldhammer for a minute, remember how he jumped all over the Johnny Manziel bandwagon and put that into existence and put us
in other words,
5 years.
In other words, Aaron Goldhammer judges quarterbacks the way John Elway does.
Yeah, but the difference is Elway 1-2, and then GM do another one. And we can't.
Elway 1-2, and Peyton Manning granted him the third. Von Miller granted him the third.
Remember, the defense carried him because he didn't have a neck.
He hasn't had a neck for years. That cranium that size, his neck is non-existent.
Cut that meat.
Oh, Jesus.
Still the best commercials ever.
All right, so I'm going to ask the question now, Jim, the one I referenced earlier. And Alex, I'm going to put you on the spot, buddy.
Okay.
Did you happen to see that the NFL's lawsuit, or NFL's motion to throw out John Gruden's lawsuit, got thrown out?
I didn't, no.
Gruden is allowed to now go to discovery. The NFL is going to be in a position of weakness for the first time in I don't know how long. Oh, wait. They have a social hot button issue that they can drop the hammer on.
Trevor Bauer got 2 years for one woman.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's this son of a bitch going to get?
The Cleveland Browns are on the clock.
Exactly. Here's the nightmare scenario for the Browns. You ready for this? And I hope it happens. Not because I wish them ill will. No fan base deserves a championship more than the Cleveland fan base when it comes to the Browns. No disrespect to the Bear fans. You've had one within a millennia.
Mike, let's also be honest here. Except for the Sipe era, about 3 or 4 years of Bernie, and you have to go all the way back to the 60s. This franchise has quite honestly sucked over its existence.
It has, but I'm more talking about the interweaving of the city and a place I still adore. You know, I love Cleveland. Why it is still a Browns town, I don't know. You have had 3 shots at the championship with the Indians since the Browns left and came back. You have had the championship with the Cavaliers and 5 runs to the finals. Browns have won 1 playoff game in the last 35, 40 years. But it's a Browns town. So here's the nightmare scenario. You ready for this? Roger goes, you know what? Yeah, we're going to get screwed by Gruden here. You're going on the exempt list till I feel it's necessary to take you off. His base salary this year is only $1 million. He'd only lose $1 million. Baker plays. Baker doesn't play. If he plays and he balls out and he gets that Lombardi to Cleveland and then Watson gets suspended for a full season next year when they're on the hook for $46 million and the 20 for Amari Cooper and the 20 for Denzel Ward, how much more salary cap you got?
And then the 16 that they just signed in Joe.
Good move, by the way, though. All kidding aside,
Njoku was earlier this year.
Yeah, Njoku was a good move, though.
We are going to disagree about that here in a minute.
Okay. Agree to disagree. I think he's still the best tight end on the roster. If the nightmare scenario plays out, you have condemned yourself to 5 to 7 years of salary cap hell. You've condemned yourself to being now tagged with this. How does he not have to sell the team?
Yeah, I don't see any other way around it. And then let's just say that hypothetical plays out and Baker does take them to the promised land. They win it. He has the ability to walk after that season, right? He's not contracted anymore?
Right.
If he plays and he has a great year, they'll franchise him just to be assholes.
Okay. What's the sentiment right now with him in Cleveland? Does he actually want to play, considering all that's kind of transpired?
They have not said shit about it. They spend more time talking about him. They spend probably, if you're talking Browns radio and fan base and social media and everything right now, because Mike will actually tell you, Cleveland Browns Twitter is the most toxic place on social media in the sports world, period. It's about 70 it's about 70 Watson, 30 Baker right now. And the point that was brought up earlier this week by both CBS Sports Radio here in Cleveland and ESPN Cleveland was that the scenario with Baker is that this isn't the Browns reaching out to him. This is Baker waiting on the Browns. This isn't Baker reaching out to the Browns saying, hey, you've actually got a scenario here. Let me actually help out because I'm still under contract for the year. You know, I'm a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett. I'm certainly a better quarterback than the other kid that they just brought in, the kid from Tennessee who went to school at Tennessee, who wasn't shit there. Dobbs, whatever. I'm a Gator.
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. But this is something where instead of Baker going to them, he's waiting on Watson to get suspended so the Browns come crawling on their hands and knees to him, which is never going to fucking happen.
And here's the saddest part about it, being brutally honest. They set him up to fail. There's no other way around it. They set him up to fail. You don't keep a guy in who every quarterback guy in all of media is saying, hey, he's got a problem because the other shoulder's torn up. You don't keep playing him. You don't keep him in the Steelers game when T.J. Watt's turning him into Ben Roethlisberger every down and getting sacked 9 times if you're not trying to make it harder on him.
Was that a shot at Alex because of 9 times with Ferris Bueller and being in Chicago? And
no, it's a shot at Stefanski for letting Jimmy Haslam and his dumb redneck face talk him into this.
I told you I was going to have a take earlier this week.
So when do you guys think the hammer's coming down on this whole Deshaun Watson situation? Because I mean, we're at 23 women now, right? 24 women.
24.
Monday, 24 comes out. The hammer comes down on Watson after John Gruden's legal team starts leaking emails.
Okay. I mean, and theoretically, you would think this is going to probably take just because this is the storyline of the NFL. This is going to probably take place in August, right? Right before the season kicks off, or right as
more than likely.
Okay.
More than likely.
If Gruden's legal team has a brain in their skull and they're not Amber Heard's lawyers, they're going to get them right before the biggest moment of the season. Don't roll your eyes at me, boy.
I'm actually just thinking it's because my office partner at work, she works from home, so she's been glued to that trial just because it's background noise. I actually told her, now what the fuck are you gonna do? What are you gonna watch? You got nothing now.
This is like old people with the OJ trial years ago.
Wow.
God, I was in the lunchroom at Brush when that verdict came down. You know who I found out?
I was at my uncle's house in upstate New York. I was on vacation, came back here for a wedding. My aunt said to him, "Jimmy, have a sandwich." He goes, "I'm too upset to eat."
I found out from a staff member at Brush. I'll give you 3 guesses who.
Was it Quan?
You're close.
Oh, what's his name? Big dude.
Spoon.
Our security guard.
Nicest dude ever, but the one guy you didn't mess with because he was bigger than anybody on the football team.
He was bigger than the football team.
That's true. Yeah, then that's not saying. Oh God, please don't let Bryce see this.
Listen, there were some bright spots. Ed Bailey was a bright spot. Rice was a bright spot. Miller could have been. Seth Landisman's a bright spot everywhere he goes. Their record. Parcells said it. You are what your record says you are. I think they won 3 games in the 4 years I was there, dude.
I think they won 6 in the 4 I was there. I'd have to go back.
Never mind that. Here's some long ball stuff. I'll catch hell from Pete Siska about that.
God, Pete Siska, that's a name I haven't heard in 20 years.
I
was just talking with my dad earlier today. COVID eliminated the opportunity for me to have a 25-year reunion last year.
That's me this year.
Yeah.
And then there's Alex, who, graduated high school yesterday. Anyway, moving on.
Let me throw this out there, and Mike, you're going to appreciate this a little bit more than Alex, but Alex, you're definitely going to be able to relate because you're old enough to remember this. Could I actually call him Jimmy Modell instead of Jimmy Haslam? And let me say this, because I think one of the reasons, and I'm not tinfoil hat guy, I'm not Marjorie Taylor dumbass. I'd like to think that the main reason he changed his mind and came here after saying that the Browns were out was not only the guaranteed money, but I also think that 2 people really started doing backflips. Number 1, Deshaun Cosby, because now he was going to be able to pay all these people off and settle. And then number 2, the attorney for these women, because he knew that now they were going to get paid. I equate it to, remember when Modell took the Browns to Baltimore and he had Baltimore pay the extra $5 million on Andre Rison's contract because he didn't have the money to do it himself? Could Jimmy Haslam maybe have paid off these women to be able to get the quarterback he wanted that nobody else might have been able to offer him?
Alex, you better take this because I'm going to lose my shit.
Oh, you're going to lose your shit, and and the floor's going to be open.
I mean, the chances of that from the way that I look at it are just slim to none. Like, it just looks so bad. 24 women cannot be lying. I'm sorry.
And they're still talking. They're still talking. We could be reaching by the 4th of July. We could actually have another 3 or 4.
Okay, yeah, we're not going to call potentially 30 women. We'll just say a nice round number, 30 women liars. Like, it's disgusting. It's embarrassing. I know. I just chuckled when you said Deshaun Cosby just a couple seconds ago, but it's realistically not a laughing matter by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
I'm kind of dumbfounded at this point. The fact that NFL hasn't done something, or even more so, Mike, I have sympathy for you that the Cleveland Browns are kind of, just taking this right on the chin is brutal.
And Mike, I did message you earlier this week. Hopefully by the time training camp comes around, maybe we can actually have a guest on here who might be able to speak to this a little bit better than any one of us could. And I think you know who I mean, and I don't want to put it out there to put that person on the spot.
No, but I am going to reach out to them in the next couple of days. 3 weeks from yesterday, Zach graduates high school. The week after that, I got his party. So I got lots of stuff going on. We're having a big party at a park, Alex, and it's the Puerto Rican side of the family that's helping me throw it.
That's got to be a lot of family.
Yeah, dude. All right, I'm going to tell because we go off the rails. I'll tell a quick story, and then we'll get back on. My wife does not come from a big family. Mm-hmm. Now, when we first got together, we were going to my cousin's wedding in Philadelphia. So my parents would send boxes with stuff in it for the kids and for us and what have you. So in a wrapped thing was about the size of a DVD case. She opened it up, and it was a copy of my Big Fat Greek Wedding. It had a sticky note on the front in my mother's handwriting that said simply, "To prepare you."
Sorry, very underrated movie.
Yes, but you have to understand something. We're at the scene where he's introducing Nikki, all those like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's calling everyone in my family, and Alex might know this, Junior.
Yeah.
They never called me that because my father asked my mother why, and she said, "Because we'll go to your sister's house, and 3/4 of the men and half the women will ask what I want."
It's like the Joey Tribbiani family with the 7 sisters, and all of them have Mary for the first half of their name.
Yes. Only, no one's Chandler and making out with one of them in the closet.
Now I'm going to binge Friends all day tomorrow. At least it gives me something to do after the IndyCar race.
That's very true.
So
getting back on topic. And Alex, you're right. It's despicable. And no, could there be people who are trying to score a payday? Yes, there could be. No one knows how, I have not been speaking to the allegations. I have not been speaking to outside of I make jokes like everybody else. Like I said, $230 million to buy a lot of pudding pops. But this is no laughing matter from that end. Where it is a laughing matter is the stupidity of a team that did something the media wanted them to. When they had a way out and a way to be competitive this season.
Let's also be honest. Of the other 31 franchises in the NFL, who was going to be dumb enough to make this move?
Not at $230 million guaranteed. Remember, the Browns were out because there are other teams that had better packages going back to Houston and better incentives in the contract. And then Jimmy Haslam said, "I'll give you $250 million." But like Alex, I said this to Jim. My biggest issue is outside of a dome or a retractable roof, he's 11-11. I think the first snowflake the guy ever saw was when he went to Berea in April.
Entirely possible.
He played in Cleveland a couple years ago against Baker in a windstorm under 50% completion. I think I read it right. I could be wrong. Please don't, check me here. Between below 50 and 50% completion, less than 200 yards, and he threw a pick. It starts, gentlemen, we've lived in upstate New York, Cleveland, and Chicago. It starts to snow in freaking October.
Yeah, and his skill set, he's a better quarterback than Baker, but that skill set does not translate on grass in cold weather.
Exactly, and and by the way, Alex, I've conceded that point. He is a better quarterback skill-wise than Baker Mayfield.
Right.
I just think Baker was better suited for this team. Dude, we're at 31 minutes, and we are still talking about this damn loser. Can someone please change the fucking subject?
Absolutely. Now we're going to move on to segment 2, and this one's going to be a quick one because this is actually just going to be the three of us just spitballing and having a little bit of fun. Welcome to the Wiseguys second inning stretch because it is segment 2. I'm going to throw a couple of things out, little tiny tidbits for each one of our teams. Mike, are the Mets going to run away with this thing in the NL East by the All-Star break? Is it basically going to be over and done by then?
No. I think Atlanta will make a run. Here's the problem with that. By the way, Jacob deGrom threw off the mound today. Moderate intensity. And Max Scherzer got bit on his hand by his dog. Only the damn Mets. No, I don't think they'll run away and hide. I think they're going to have a hard time on this trip, to be honest with you. I think the Dodgers and the Padres are going to beat them up a little bit. I am upset with the team right now. After Francisco Lindor slammed his hand in the door and couldn't play the other night, someone should have shown up with a Rangers foam finger to try and protect him. I thought I'd get a laugh out of that. Anyway.
Sorry, my dad's texting me. He's trying to tune in, but he can't find the channel.
I just tell mine to watch it afterwards. No, I don't think they're going to run away. I think they will run away when they have to go to Atlanta later in the year, and the Braves are going to see in a 3-game series, Scherzer, deGrom, and Chris Bassett. Sidebar, did you see Cookie's father finally got to a game the other day?
I did. That was such a great story.
That was so cool. I'm surprised he never got I'm surprised he wasn't in Cleveland when Cookie was sick, to be very honest with you.
Yeah. Moving on now. Mr. Ruiz. Putting this out into the universe, apparently it happened. Dallas Keuchel DFA'd.
They should have happened about a year and a half ago. It's I could find a construction worker off the street that could pitch better than him.
Would you like to actually, have your champions pose, do your Heisman, do your Al Bundy for basically apparently leading the charge for this to happen, and apparently then it coming to fruition shortly thereafter?
Yeah, I mean, because I'm kind of tired of watching or potentially attending games where the game is over in the bottom of the first inning because he's given up 5 to 7 runs. So it's just pathetic the fact that they thought he was still a credible arm. This is not the 2017 Astros. This is not cheat gate over here. We don't have buzzers or tickers on, or we're not hitting trash cans or nothing here in Chicago. So I really don't want to go into it because I was hoping that I can save this and kind of spread this out throughout the show. But what a fucking embarrassment. That's all I can say. I didn't have aspirations to say, hey, you know what, this team is going to win a World Series this year. But every year, you hope that you progress a little bit more, and then maybe one day, look at that, cats in the show. Yeah, like I was saying, you progress a little more, and then maybe one day, within the next year or 2 years or whatever, you hit that kind of pinnacle, and you're in the prime spot. And as I'm watching it, as I'm seeing this live right now and in the flesh, my team has only gotten worse, and I don't understand it. And the amount of, and I know this is going around the league, the amount of soft tissue injuries on this fucking team, I don't understand. This team, I was talking to my wife about it. She says this team needs to do ballet because every time it's a quad, it's a hammy, it's a groin. The other day, actually, it was Friday. Yeah, yesterday, I got an alert on my phone saying that Vince Velasquez, one of our pitchers who we got off the trash pile this offseason, not he didn't tear. He strained his hamstring shagging fly balls during batting practice. So it's
What?
yeah. I don't understand it. I mean, they're connected with one of the premier hospitals here in Chicago, Rush University or Rush Medical Center,
Mhm.
and I think that they all need to get fired. I'm sorry.
You guys are
Did
3
Ray
and 7 in
Ramirez
your-
take over your guys' training staff? Because this sounds like the Mets from about 5-6 years ago.
I don't know who they have right now, and they fired their head trainer I think a year or two ago, and they must have put somebody in place who was duplicating the exact same thing that last trainer did, because every year it never ceases to amaze me the amount of injuries that this team endures, and I get it with the abbreviated spring training, it was bound to happen. It's happening across the league, but the abundance of injuries on this team at the most inopportune times is just.
Alex, let me pose this to you. You guys are 3 and 7 in your last 10, but yet you're only 5 out in that division. Do you still think that something like this, maybe getting a younger arm in there, could be maybe a catalyst now that the calendar's turned over to June to be able to finally get your shit together and get it, make a run at this like you should have been originally?
It's theoretically possible because now that you nixed Keiko, I mean, you got Giolito, who's a solid arm. You got Cease, who's a solid arm. Kopech has kind of emerged as a premier pitcher, I guess you can say. And you're getting Glenn back here probably within the next 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most. So their pitching hasn't been terrible. It's just that their offense. You can find people in the geriatric home that can do better than that at the plate. I'm sorry, you really could. It's you guys on base, no outs, 1 out, runners on second and third, and they will end the inning without scoring a run. It's almost like clockwork. It's ground out, it's pop out, it's strikeout, it's inopportune hitting. I don't understand it. And you think the lineup is pretty stacked for the most part. Granted, Eloy's out right now because of another clumsy injury, but and now Tim Anderson is out with the groin strain.
Oof.
Yeah, they said 3 weeks.
Thankfully his own.
So
You're welcome.
I'm at a loss, but
it burns through the nose, you son of a bitch.
But that's where I'm at right now. I'm just I choose not to watch them, and whenever I follow it on White Sox Twitter, which is also somewhat toxic as well too. Probably not nearly as toxic as Brown's Twitter. It's bad. I mean, we got people saying fire everybody. Tony La Russa needs to get shot into space. Put him in a home. Type of things like that, because I mean, half the time he looks like he's sleeping in his pressers after the game. So,
I mean, yeah, he's like one step behind Jack McKeon in terms of sleeping in the clubhouse. It seems.
Yeah, there's times where you see him on the bench in the dugout, and he's just like, and you don't know if he's got a pulse or not. I got to be honest with you.
And our manager's in his mid-60s and he's ready to fight.
Yeah, our manager right now is not showing any type of fight.
Well, Michael, let's turn our attention briefly here from the possibly most toxic place on Twitter in Major League Baseball, which is White Sox Twitter, to probably the best Twitter account in Major League Baseball, and that would be your Cleveland Guardians, formerly Indians. Is there a better hitter in baseball right now than Jose Ramirez?
I will say this. I was so excited when he signed. I think Jose is the perfect superstar for Cleveland. He's a down-to-earth guy, and he rakes. He absolutely rakes. Is there a better hitter? Yeah, I'd say the dude wearing 27 in Anaheim.
Yeah, but that guy misses 50 games a year.
Not anymore.
Arguably. I mean, yeah, if you put them together over, let's say, 140 games, yeah, the conversation's not even close. Well, we can't do that because that guy out in Anaheim hasn't played a full season in
a couple years.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. I think he's far better than the gigantic D-bag that plays right field for the New York Yankees. Dude, it's flying. Willie and him asked me to name a mediocre starter, and I said Garrett Cole.
Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're also right for what you and I talked about 2 weeks ago with the shitstorm that happened between the Jays and the Yankees. It's that guy's a superlative douche canoe, which is my new favorite word.
Yeah, and he's top 3. I'll say that. I think Jose's top 3.
Yeah.
I think it's him. I think it's Trout. And I think it's Ohtani.
Let me throw 2 more out there, and we're going to take a quick commercial break here, so this way some of us can top off our drinks. Is there any more player in baseball that might be more athletic and just all-around better athlete than Harrison Bader?
Tatis.
You think?
Yeah. I've already seen Harrison Bader in 2 full series. He is phenomenal. Give me El Nino every day of the week.
You know what's funny is I went to Aldi's earlier this afternoon. Some guy was wearing a Machado jersey. It's like, you don't get that up in these part of the country.
Speaking of unheralded douche canoes, Alex, who do you think could be as good of an athlete? And your dad's a Cardinal fan, Alex, so I'm sure you watched him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's anybody as good as Bader athletically? Like I said, I think it's Tatis.
I mean, Bader definitely ranks that at the top, one of the top guys for me without a doubt, just because of, he's got a little bit of pop in the bat. He definitely has speed, and he can cover center field and left center, right center with no problem. I mean, I'd like to kind of compare him to what we have here in Chicago when he's healthy, Luis Robert, because he's freakishly athletic as well too. His speed is quite elite, I might say. But I haven't seen a full season of him 100% healthy, so I probably got to say I think Bader would rank at the top for me, and Tatis is right there as well too. Except that Tatis just has to stop being stupid and riding motorcycles and doing dumb shit like that.
Last thing, and then we'll actually take our first commercial break. You guys didn't actually happen to catch any Guardians games in the last week and a half, have you?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
No.
They just called up a player named Oscar Gonzalez who's absolutely raking. Do you know what his walk-up theme is?
No.
I don't care if this gets if this gets pulled off of YouTube. I am not making this up. I don't know how well this is going to show up.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Stop it!
Hear you!
Aye, aye, Captain!
Stop it!
Oh, who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Absorbent.
Wow.
They played the YouTube game of the week on Thursday, against Kansas City, and it was like the 1:00 start, which is usually like kids' day because it was also like the last day of school for most Northeast Ohio districts. And the kids were going nuts, the 13,000 that were there, just because every time he walks up, he comes out to SpongeBob Sucks Ass.
God,
I hate that show.
I have 2 that grew up with it, so
my stepbrother, when he was growing up and I was still living at home, it's all he watched. Like that and Fairly Odd Parents. So it's like, and I was trying to work third shift, so all I heard was SpongeBob Sucks Ass every day.
don't you dare hate on Timmy Turner.
I couldn't tell you. I've never watched it.
I'm a giant child, so.
Well, we're going to take a 2-minute break here, refill our drinks. Some of us, if we need to hit the facilities real quick. We'll come back. We'll cover one more topic, and then the rest of the show is going to be our free-for-all. So stay tuned. And welcome back. We're going to bring Alex and Mike back in. Gentlemen, you ready? Mike, I actually saw that you had a connection issue. You good?
Yeah, I was playing on Twitter and I dropped my phone on the camera thing.
So we're going to actually go into very, very briefly segment 3 tonight, and then we'll open it up for the free-for-all for the rest of the show. And this is titled Luke. Thankfully, this isn't Star Wars because Luke is not the father. And the main reason for this, Mike, we actually alluded to former NBA head coach Luke Walton now has a new job. He's now going to be one of the chief assistants to J.B. Bickerstaff with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very, very
I like it.
I do too. But the reason why I brought this up, and because we talked about this with Willie a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to get Alex's perspective on this. Luke Walton was a certain player's first head coach when he actually made the jump out to Los Angeles. Now there's that rumor of him coming back home for a third time and possibly now being reunited with a coach that he got along with, but the organization decided to go a different way because of the fact that they were still building that franchise when he got out there. So, Mike, I'd actually like to start here with you because you're a little bit more familiar with the situation. You said you liked the move. Elaborate on that if you could.
Well, listen, he's got a great basketball IQ. His pedigree is second to none. Look at his last name. I think he was a very good head coach that was given a poor team to run and then given LeBron. Now, most younger head coaches in their first couple years don't survive with LeBron because of the expectations. See David Blatt.
Listen, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Still the greatest soundbite I've ever heard out of a coach. At least out of a basketball coach.
No. Yeah, I was going to say, you play to win the game in playoffs from
Denny Green.
No, it wasn't Denny Green. That's We Are Who They Say They Are. Who was the playoffs?
Jim Mora.
These kids.
Oh, Jim Mora.
That's it. And of course, you play to win the game. That one, hello, was second to none. I think he brings. JB's brought a very defensive-minded culture to the Cavaliers. I think you would agree with that, Jim. I think Luke Walton can kind of bring that to be more well-rounded. To have an offensive side of the ball to go with Bickerstaff's elite defensive coaching. Look, before the injuries, this was the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Right up with your Chicago Bulls, Alex. They got bit by the injury bug at the wrong time, and that's why they fell apart. Look, you bring in well-rounded coaching. Did anyone see Colin Sexton's rehab video he put on Twitter today?
I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm going to shift the question now over to Alex. Alex, with the Bulls being, the top team in that division, and let's be honest, I think the Bucks maybe kind of come back to earth a little bit next year, even as great as they were. And the Cavs right now are going to be right on your Bulls' ass. There's reports coming out in the last maybe 2 or 3 days that the Cavs are drawing a heavy interest on Colin Sexton from the San Antonio Spurs.
Interesting.
In your perspective, how fast would you actually buy the plane ticket to get him out of this division as a Bulls fan?
Oh, pretty fast. Pretty fast. I mean, I know when he has played the Bulls when he was healthy, he tore them up left and right. And I know that going into this past season, because I watched quite a bit of Bulls, and more so even highlighted when they play the Cavs here in Chicago or in Cleveland. I know those were extremely competitive games because you got 2 young rosters and a roster in the Cavs that is right there ready to compete. And unfortunately, like you mentioned, Mike, they just got bit by the injury bug at the wrong time, and I think kind of fell a little bit prey of like a little bit of lack of experience or just the youth at the end of the season. and that's kind of why they had a little bit of a downfall. But I think they'll be right back in the mix again without a doubt. Knowing what we know right now about the Bucks, they're going to have to retool. I don't think they're going to be able to keep everybody. Philadelphia being Philadelphia, Miami, being there, but kind of falling apart in the playoffs. I think that kind of really bodes well for your team, the Cavs, and my team, the Bulls here in Chicago. As long as I guess we can say that the Bulls make a decision on Levine, whether it's to keep him, which I think I would be on board with, because there's really not a whole lot out there. Or if you move on from him, then you're kind of in a somewhat of a shitty position. So
I'll tell you this much: the Spurs thing for Sexton is actually picking up a little bit more steam, Mike, from what I've seen, because they got a little bit more kind of cap room, and pairing him with Dejounte Murray, that could be very, very scary in the West, considering, remember, San Antonio was in the back end of the play-in tournament themselves, just like the Cavs were. Granted, like almost 10 games under 500 getting into that play-in, assuming they do it next year, which I like the idea. I kind of wish the NHL would go back to it like they did in the bubble. And Alex, you can appreciate that, being from Chicago and how the Hawks, benefited from that, beating McDavid and the Oilers that year in that play-in round. But the other part of me wonders, would it actually work if he were paired up with Dejounte Murray, Sexton, that is? Could it be very much like a Bradley Beal, John Wall, that you've got two alphas in the backcourt, who's going to run the point?
I think they would be forced to make a decision like Bickerstaff did and moving Colin Sexton to the 2, because Darius Garland's a better point guard. I don't think you can ask that question until you actually see them play together. Because remember, if you remember when Garland came in, they would play one at the point, one at the 2, start one, bring one off the bench, just to see who was the better fit at the 1. Because right now, look, you got one point guard who is trying to fix his legacy in the NBA Finals right now, and you have others like Ben Simmons who don't show up. You have, guys who take jump shots and make you cringe, like your boy in Chicago, Lonzo. So you have to find the match. The Cavs found it in playing Darius Garland at the 1 and Colin Sexton at the 2. I hope they don't get rid of him, because I think if you start Garland and Karis LeVert and bring Sexton off the bench, there are very few second-line guards, either at the 1 or the 2, who can keep up with him.
I agree with that, and that's actually, as a Cavs fan, that's what actually is going to make this so much fun, is because, Alex, you'll even appreciate this. This is going to, and you might not be old enough to remember this like Mike and I do, but hearkening back to Price Doherty and the Cavs against Michael and Scotty when they were just coming up, like in the late 80s, early 90s. Cavs Bulls could be back.
I'll be here for it. I'd love to.
And it was fun. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, not very much fun for us, but it was a lot of. They were always great games.
It made you want to make the 40-minute drive to the Richfield Coliseum.
It did. And I moved to Cleveland at the tail end of the Richfield Coliseum era. So I remember that. One quick question about the NBA, if I could go off the rails here.
Sure.
Am I the only one who thinks Steph Curry has to win this finals and an MVP to cement his legacy? Because if you think about it, he's never won a finals against a healthy team without Kevin Durant.
They won the first one without him.
They weren't
healthy. You're right.
Because no Kyrie, no Kevin Love.
Because his second option was Delly, Matthew Dellavedova, who ended up getting hurt in Game 3 and played the last 3 games of that series with a torn groin. Again, thankfully his own.
And spent a night in the hospital.
Right. Didn't Shump also spend a night in the hospital, if I remember, didn't he?
Shump had a torn rotator and a torn groin. LeBron told everybody about that at the parade. But seriously, am I the only one who thinks this guy's actually got to win something against a healthy team?
I thought about almost calling this the Boston Tea Party against the Golden Showers.
Is he getting like flack or some heat for not winning a championship against a fully healthy team, or is this just kind of a take?
This is me, honestly. I don't like him. I don't. You know what? For people who say LeBron's a whiner, they have not watched this dude. His wife annoys me. The fact that but he was smart enough to hire Rob Riggle for the mini golf show, so I will give him that.
Yeah, there were people here during that 2016 run that were begging just for somebody to for security to turn their back for 1 minute so they could hit her in the mouth with a claw hammer. That's how much not only Clevelanders but people hate Ayesha Curry.
You know what the scary part about the Clevelander thing is? There were Kardashians in our locker room and they hated her more.
Yep.
That's bad.
The best way I could equate it, it was like when you guys had Cutler and the problem wasn't with Cutler, it was with Cavallari.
I don't want to think about those days. I just really don't.
Bad memories, but same scenario.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I when I think about it, I really don't have a horse in this race in terms of the NBA Finals right now. I kind of thought that just based on experience alone and the fact that they've been there in the finals before and have won before, that Golden State would win. But I think that Boston could not run away with the series, but I think that Boston could win this series somewhat easily just because of the deeper bench.
I agree, because this is where it's very bittersweet for me, because I grew up a Celtics fan along with a Cavs fan. It was my dad's influence. My dad's, and kind of bringing it back to how we started the segment, my dad's all-time favorite player was Bill Walton. When he was at UCLA, his time with the Blazers, although he wasn't a huge Blazers fan, and then he actually ends up being a sixth man on that 86 Celtics team, which I still think, as great as Michael's teams were, that 72-10 and then the 73-9 Warriors, I still think that 86 Celtics team was the greatest team of raw talent I've ever seen, because four of those five guys are in the Hall of Fame. The coach is in the Hall of Fame. The owner and the GM are in the Hall of Fame. And you had the sixth man in the Hall of Fame. And, oh, yeah, that fourth guy is going into the Hall of Fame, but as a GM, and that'd be Ainge as opposed to, as business as opposed to player. But it's very bittersweet for me, because I'd love to see the Celtics get number 18 and kind of put a little bit of distance between them and the Lakers. And they're doing it all homegrown. But yet, outside of Smart, Horford, and Jaylen Brown, I couldn't name another Celtic on that franchise. And I definitely don't want to see the Warriors win another one, because they're just so unlikable.
No,
especially with Bobby. My foot is tattooed to your nuts brown. Sorry, Draymond.
Yeah, I mean, this team is very much so boom or bust right now. Yeah, Steph can shoot like nobody's business. Clay can shoot as well, but I think he's not the same since those two injuries. Outside of that, they have Jordan Poole, who's kind of emerged, but he's still real young. And Draymond, as far as I'm concerned, he's just kind of more so a nuisance on the court. I know that he contributes because he can pass the ball and so forth, but he can't shoot worth a shit, honestly. He really can't. The game on, what was it, Thursday that they played?
Yeah.
They gave him countless open looks, and he just doinked them all. So
Is it wrong to wish, because they say it's never supposed to, they say it's never good to wish ill against, another player to get hurt, but is it wrong of us for somebody to just want to kind of undercut Draymond so he ends up being an RKO out of nowhere gif?
I don't think I'd be too upset about that. I mean, I don't have any personal affiliation with him or that, or nor do I feel malicious towards him. But I mean, whatever happens to him, he kind of gets should see it coming in a sense.
I mean, matter of fact, the second post I ever did on my blog back in 2016 was right after he sent the photo of the coffee cup to somebody's wife. Allegedly, it was one of his teammates. Was it not?
I don't recall that story. I don't remember.
This is the guy who, when he lost the finals, like a little girl, called Kevin Durant from the parking lot.
After the game, after they lost, he called Kevin Durant.
After Game 7, he was in the Cavs were still spraying champagne all over the friggin' arena, and he's in the parking lot calling KD.
To say join the team?
Yeah. And he called LeBron a bitch. Come on.
The fake Bobby Brown, I'm sorry, a Draymond thing was, I went back and I looked at the blog that I put. He allegedly sent nude pictures of his junk on Instagram as private messages and claims that he accidentally clicked off the private share button. There's no truth to the rumor that the picture was intended for Aisha Curry.
Please categorize that correctly. That is the Brett Favre, not the Bobby Brown.
That's what they call him here on local radio. They call the Clay and Steph are known as the DeBarge boys. And Draymond is fake Bobby Brown. And I'm sorry, Steph, yes, greatest shooter we've ever seen when he's accurate. But let's also be honest, and I've called him this, and I kind of have the same. I put him in the same category as Brady, is that he gets a lot of calls because because let's face it, Steph is a glorified street baller with the way that with the way he throws up prayers.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, you don't know where that ball's going. That ball's going to be in the facility, but it could be like, remember when Kevin D'd up on him in Game 7 in the closing minutes? Everyone thought that ball was going in the arena, and then that ball was such a brick that it could have bent the rim had it made contact.
I can't talk about him anymore. I'm getting a headache.
Well, we were already one game in. We actually saw that Boston is not afraid of the moments. They've actually got the good young talent. They can shoot from anywhere. All 5 guys, and even if you run their bench, all 8 guys can shoot from outside. Where do you see the series going?
Boston in 6.
I agree.
Oh my God! All 3 of us agreed.
Last time we did that, the Rams won a Super Bowl. So, be happy.
And on that note, we're going to transition. Alex, you're going to appreciate this because I just did the Adam Cole.
God.
Bebe.
We're going into segment 4, the free-for-all, or as I'm going to be calling it, the Stupor Clip Party, which Alex will agree is a play on AEW's Super Kick Party. Alex, did you happen to see Double or Nothing on Sunday?
I did indeed.
And what did you think?
Too fucking long, but it was a good show.
Long.
Good Lord.
I cracked open a Mike's Harder and forgot that it was 8% alcohol, and I really started feeling it right around the Jade Cargill Anna Jay match, which is very, very bittersweet for me because I can't stand Jade Cargill. I think that belt needs to come off of her, and Anna Jay is like the most gorgeous woman in wrestling. God damn you, Luke Perry. Yeah, by the way, Mike, Luke Perry's son wrestles for AEW and is dating the woman on the planet.
Look who his dad is.
Yeah.
Alex, please tell me that the greatest WrestleMania moment you've ever seen was McAfee this past year.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about his match, and I'm not talking about Vince McMahon. I'm talking about still drinking after he was stunned on the outside.
He's worth the price of admission 100%.
I love him.
He's anywhere he goes, he's money. Whatever he does, he can go do. I hope he go. Did he land an NFL deal to do broadcasting?
Not yet.
He's got to get one. Give him a deal.
No.
Amazon.
I need him and Bob Menery to do a game together.
Oh God.
The other day, AJ Hawk, of course, does a show with him.
Mm-hmm.
Brady Quinn was the guest. Brady Quinn's background was when. Did you see this?
No, I didn't, but it's up. But my brother's always had a man crush on Brady Quinn because he came into the store when Frankie was working at Walgreens.
Oh, nice. The background is when AJ lost control of a golf cart at a tournament, and it's in the pond. Their buddy dove in to find his cigarettes. AJ's chest deep in the water, and Brady and another dude dove in. Bro, they were sober.
Wow.
So Brady comes on with that, and all of a sudden you hear AJ Hawk go, "Why is that your background?" I do have to get a little bit in AEW so I can hang with you guys with this. I think the thing with me is I was such an old school guy. Like I remember WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome.
Yeah.
I remember Andre the Giant going down. But my favorite match that night was when Roddy Piper beat Adrian Adonis and cut his hair. That was the birth of the barber.
Mike actually might enjoy the next couple of episodes coming up on AEW, Alex, if you saw, because don't we have a hair versus hair match coming up?
We do. Chris
Yes.
Jericho.
Tell me it's Jericho.
Jericho. 49-year-old Chris Jericho is going into a hair versus hair match. Because here's the thing. AEW bills themselves as the real wrestling company because it is. It's not like that shit that's up north that McAfee commentates for, and no disrespect against McAfee. That's what they pay him to do. But that is sports entertainment. So Jericho, in his stable, they called it the Jericho Appreciation Society, or JAS, and they call themselves sports entertainers, and are now going up against 5 borderline hardcore guys, including like Daniel Bryan and Dean, and the former Dean Ambrose, currently known as John Moxley, and then a couple of great guys from the indies. And they're leading into what they call Blood and Guts, which is basically like their version of War Games with the double cage and everything. And it's and then they put like weapons in the cage and everything. But for like Moxley and Danielson's team to get the match, Jericho has to be beaten next week in a hair versus hair match. And yet Jericho's going out on tour with his band Fozzy in a couple of weeks.
Which means either Jericho's going out with short hair and planned on it, or he's going to win. So
very, very much so. Alex, real quick story, and then we'll kind of move off of AEW here for a quick moment. Every time I would actually go to, and you've probably heard of this promotion because I think they've actually come through Chicago a number of times, AIW. They're one of the primary independents in this part of the country. And Eddie Kingston used to come on their shows constantly and kind of does the same persona. Well, the thing is he always would run around the ring while the opponent's kind of getting in and going through their shtick, and he would always end up hitting it doesn't matter who the ring announcer was, he would actually always walk by and just hit the guy in the nuts for no apparent reason.
Wait, Draymond wrestles?
And the primary ring announcer for AIW is a stand-up comedian named Steve Guy. So every time we go to a show, we have to ask Steve Guy if he did a cup check, if Eddie Kingston's in the building.
Nice. I like that.
So, Mike, you brought up a topic that you'd like us to discuss in honor of somebody who we lost last week.
We lost Shoeless Joe. Ray Liotta. Oh. I've been watching Field of Dreams clips because of this. So, during the pandemic, I did a big recon episode of my top sports movies in every genre. the fighting ones, which ended up being a mix of the Rocky movies, the Karate Kids, that stuff. Basketball, and I did on stuff I've seen. So like basketball, my number one movie was He Got Game, the Spike Lee movie with Ray Allen and Denzel. Football, it was Remember the Titans. Close second, I believe it was Little Giants. But baseball, my all-time favorite baseball movie is Field of Dreams. And Ray Liotta, who was on a show I can't stand, Cowherd, years ago, and Ray Liotta actually said someone told him that Field of Dreams is the Notebook for guys. Now think about that statement for exactly. Every time Kevin Costner says, "Hey, Dad, do you want to have a catch?" It hits you. It hits you right in the feels every time. And because the White Sox played it, you watched the game at the Field of Dreams last year. My favorite moment was when he said, "There's only one thing left to ask. Is this heaven?" And the crowd responded, "No, it's Iowa." I mean, that was killer. So I wanted to ask you guys. So Field of Dreams is my favorite baseball movie. My favorite sports movie of all time is actually the 6th installment of the Rocky series, Rocky Balboa. Did you see that one, Jim?
I did not. I actually, the last one I saw was 5. I haven't even seen Creed.
Phenomenal films. And the angle in the second one, off the charts. But
I think that's also when I started getting more into MMA and I just can't take boxing seriously anymore.
It's really well done. So the beginning of the movie, Antonio Tarver, the former light heavyweight champion of the world, is playing the heavyweight champion of the world in there. And he's just smoking the competition. There's nobody who can fight with him. And the one announcer says, "Everyone longs for that champion," and he goes into something. And then the street corner group from the first Rocky starts singing "Take It Back" that they sang in the first movie. And it grabs you. And it's basically a retelling and an ending of the entire first movie, but Adrian's dead. And it took him, you see, the 5th movie, which wasn't worth the film it was printed on, was done in 1990. This one didn't get released until 2005.
Yeah.
It took him 15 years to get this done. Phenomenal film. So I want to ask you guys, Alex, what is your favorite sports movie of all time? Any genre. Boxing, basketball, football. And it can't be Brian's song just because you're from Chicago.
No. For me, without a doubt, just being a homer, my favorite sports movie of all time is The Sandlot. It hits me every time. I know it line by line, basically.
Do I just need to cut the stream because I've never seen it?
I'm sorry.
You've never seen The Sandlot? No.
This is me hiding my head in shame.
No, you don't need to. So, Jim, come back. You'll love this. James Earl Jones is in that movie. So, Zachary hasn't seen it either, but he's 18, not in his 40s. So, I played the James Earl Jones speech, which I know backwards and forwards. Zach says to me, "Wasn't he in The Sandlot?" And I said, "Yeah, he's the blind guy." He goes, "Oh." He said something funny. He grabs a bowl and he goes, "George, sign this? You're not in trouble. You're dead where you stand." But seriously, dude, I'm telling you, even now, The Sandlot will hit you.
Mm-hmm.
And you will relate to Squints. And Squints does something pretty cool. I'm not going to tell you.
Jim, I just recommend just go on one of these streaming websites. You could probably find it for free someplace.
I will give you.
Now
I
that
believe it's on Disney
all
Plus.
all of my CBS shows are done for the summer. So I mean, my TV is done. So I got nothing but movies and Netflix from now until probably October, when like NCIS and everything comes back.
Find The Sandlot. It is so good. It is so good. You will enjoy Hamilton Porter.
I do know I do know the line, "You're killing me, Smalls." That's all that I know. And then, like, doesn't one of the kids like try to kiss a lifeguard or something?
That's Squints. He doesn't just go. He doesn't try to kiss a lifeguard. Homeboy marries the lifeguard.
I got to go a little different direction with mine. We all know that my forte is hockey. Mike, what did you actually? What was your favorite hockey movie, or did you score one?
Promise you won't laugh.
Mighty Ducks. 2
Slap shot.
up there.
Snapshot. Okay.
I'm going to go with one that not a whole lot of people remember, but I thought was phenomenally well done. Mystery Alaska.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very, very close second has got to be Miracle, because Miracle for me is that Field of Dreams for you, especially at the end where you actually hear the Al Michaels call getting dubbed over, and then right after it ends, you actually see Herb Brooks addressing that team in the movie, and then it actually says I actually got up and I cried in the theater. I got up and I applauded, and then when I saw the caption, I cried because it actually said he passed away just before the filming completed. He didn't see it, he lived it. And that got me.
Yeah, there's a few that did that to me. Field of Dreams does that to me. For a long time, Major League did too.
Yeah. Especially the end.
Actually, Major League 2 used to do that to me because I'd feel bad for Rube because his mama died.
But he got kicked in the balls by
I didn't care so much about my mama dying anymore.
I'm on the rooster.
Alex, have you seen the second Major League?
I have, yeah.
It's not nearly as good, but there are some things you take away from that film.
There actually might be more one-liners in that than the first one. The first one was phenomenal, but I think there were better one-liners in the second one.
There definitely were.
No. There is nothing better than the spring training montage.
Yeah.
I thought you said you know any high-priced talent. You forget about Dorn. He's just high-priced.
Oh, you're right. Picked him up as a free agent 2 years ago.
No. Look at this fucking guy. Drop the mic.
Oh.
Where you been playing? California Penal League. How'd you get there? Stole a car.
And who can ever forget hats for bats? What's your handicap? Keep bats warm.
Keep bats warm.
Favorite football movie?
Yo Bartender. Joe Blue needs a refill.
Favorite football movie, fellas?
Tweeter drinks beer because, well, Tweeter drinks beer. Varsity Blues.
Never saw it all the way through.
Did you watch Hawaii 5-0?
Mm-mm. Usually on too late for me.
Have you seen the Oceans movies?
Yes.
The Twins. Casey Affleck and Scott Conn?
Yeah, I know.
Scott Conn plays Charlie
who
Tweeter.
he is. Yeah, Scott Conn, yep.
Yeah, he plays Tweeter. The guy steals a cop car drinking and ends up naked with 3 chicks in it going to grab frickin' Dawson Leary. What's your favorite football movie, Alex?
Oh, it's got to be Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
It's just a classic for me as well, too.
It's Denzel.
I mean, and then I think you mentioned it. Little Giants always hits home for me. It's one of those kids movie I grew up on. So
I love The Replacements too.
You know what? I was just going to bring that up because you would think the fact that I own a Falco jersey, thanks to my brother, that Replacements will be number one with me. I'm going to go way off the board, and you probably don't even remember this one. Remember the
Necessary Roughness?
Huh?
Necessary Roughness?
You remember the program?
That was based on Florida State. That was crazy. Dude, it's crazy.
It's all about a college football program and everything. Like I'm not going to spoil it, but like the head coach's daughter is dating the backup quarterback and taking tests for him. The starting quarterback is a Heisman candidate and he's a drunk. They're all
In other words,
linebacker, can't read above a fourth grade level.
so it's Andy Katzenmoyer on the Florida State Seminoles is basically what it was.
Wow. Okay.
Mike, you probably don't even remember this scene because you've seen the movie. Do you remember the story of the scene that got cut after the first week of?
Where they were laying on the road and the trucks are going to come at him? Yeah.
There was a scene, Alex, where they taped it where they wanted to prove how tough they were. So 6 guys from the football team go out and they lay in the middle of the street, right on the yellow line, in the middle of a busy 4-lane intersection. Some kids tried to do that. One of them got run over. They pulled the movie out of theaters and then recut it and put it back out 2 weeks later with that scene missing. We saw it opening weekend, and yet that scene cannot be found anywhere.
I don't think it's even on the DVD extras.
It's not. It's not. They pulled it from everything. The only way that you actually know about the scene is you had to have seen it in the theater because this was before camera phones were a thing.
Yeah. The other football movie that I really enjoy, and I'm going to segue into asking if anybody's seen this one. I love Jerry Maguire.
A football movie that's not very much about football, which is why Moneyball's so much up for me. It's a baseball movie that's got that you don't see there's really not a whole lot of baseball in it until the end because it's all and that's actually also why I think a very good underrated football movie, and I'm going to sound biased for this, Draft Day, because of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on.
I love that movie.
And we're not just saying it because we're not just saying it because Kevin Costner now is apparently still the smartest GM in Browns history. It was Andrew Berry for about 2 years, and that got shot right up the ass.
You cannot blame this on Andrew Berry. This was that goddamn hillbilly who should have been locked up by the FBI for scamming truck drivers at Pilot Flying J.
Next question here.
Oh, here we go.
Favorite teams that you don't have a hometown connection to? Go a little off the board here. So, Mike, you're not allowed to pick a New York or a Cleveland team. Because we all know what mine are.
That's because yours are all from out of town.
For the most part, yeah.
Baseball, it's the Boston Red Sox because I hate the Yankees. College football,
Michigan.
it's fuck off. It's Florida State.
Fuck you because I'm a Gator fan.
And, well, here's why Florida State. I first picked up college football because I saw Deion Sanders playing in the College World Series. And then watched him that fall on the field. But the surprising one, the NFL, I got to do it. It's the Chicago Bears.
No.
Yeah. 2 reasons. One, I am fat like Refrigerator Perry and always want to score a touchdown like that. And 2, you got my boy now.
Justin?
Absolutely. And if you keep playing the way they are, they're going to end up with C.J. Stroud, too.
Probably will. Good chance.
What about you, Alex? What non-Chicago teams? Well, the Cardinals, obviously.
Cardinals for sure. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Dodgers because of my LA family. Football, because of another part of my family, the Denver Broncos. They've been Broncos fans since like the late '90s when they had Terrell Davis, right?
Yeah.
What was his name? Yeah.
Oh, trust me, Mike and I got into a huge argument about this one earlier this week.
And then I will say it gets a little wacky here because I don't find too many people around here who follow it like I do. But I am a Tottenham Hotspur fan, English soccer.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is Tottenham the one Ryan Reynolds owns part of?
Not that I know of, but he might, but I'm not really sure.
Looking it up.
What English soccer team was Ryan Reynolds on part of? Wrexham.
Yeah, because it says Tottenham is ENIC International, 85%.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's me. I mean, I kind of go global, and I think fingers crossed. My wife and I are kind of planning a nice little trip in September here to go to bloody old England. So looking forward
Really?
to that.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Hmm.
If I pay you a
Nice.
little extra money, can you bring me back Kate Beckinsale?
Sure, go ahead. I'll give you
Did
my
you ever
PayPal.
hear? Did you ever hear what she did to somebody?
With the mint,
Yes.
Graham Norton. Yep.
I love it. Alex, if you go on YouTube and look up the Graham Norton show,
Okay.
there is an
It's-
episode.
It's their version of like Colbert and Leno, but all filters are off, and they get like premier. Like they had one, like my favorite one had like Charlize Theron, Seth MacFarlane, Tom Cruise, and Emily Blunt all on the couch, basically sipping whiskey.
But the two best ones, one couch was Toby Jones, who played Zola in the MCU. It's Catherine Zeta-Jones, Ryan Reynolds, and Captain Slaps-a-Lot.
Sean?
Tommy Pham. Did you see that, Jim?
Yes.
Alex, did you see that?
I
Did
did.
you hear who their commissioner is?
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout.
He's a shitty commissioner, apparently.
Well, he's too busy hitting 330. But yeah, look up the Graham Norton show.
Okay.
There's another one where they were talking about the movie The Monuments Men. And on the couch, it's Matt Damon. It's Hugh
Laurie.
Hugh Bonneville or Hugh Bonham from Downton Abbey. And Bill Murray.
Oh,
yes,
God.
I forgot about that one. Another good one was Clooney.
Hugh Laurie.
Stationary. Yes. Alex, we're going to be flooding you on
Please.
Twitter with Graham Norton clips.
That's
one
not the funniest one.
The one that I was telling you
funniest
about. Go ahead, Mike.
The funniest one is the bumper sticker.
Yes. Yeah.
He gets
that's
a bumper
good.
sticker for the back of Brad Pitt's car that's in the shape of a pot plant that says "fuck cops."
Fuck cops. The one that I was talking about, McFarlane, they had just, I think a Million Ways to Die in the West had just come out, and he's doing, like, they're asking him all of his, how he does all of his impressions and everything.
Is this the Kermit the Frog thing?
Yes, he does the taken phone call for Liam Neeson, but he does it in the voice of Kermit the Frog. Tom Cruise is almost on the floor pissing himself.
Oh my God.
And if you can get Tom Cruise and Charlize Theron basically to not be able to breathe properly because they're laughing so hard, you've got it made. God, what was
the other one? When her and Seth Rogen did that movie?
No, John Cena and McConaughey.
Yes.
And Alex, the meme becomes self-aware. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
This
noted.
becomes self-aware.
You find out how it happened.
Uh-huh. And if McConaughey was any more chill, he would have been lying on the floor in the couch.
Did you ever hear McConaughey tell the story about his brother peeing over 6'6"?
Have I? No.
Okay, so apparently McConaughey's father, who was like this badass, he was out drinking and playing poker with his friends, and he saw an old motorbike. His buddy's 6'6", and he goes, "I bet my son can pee over your head." He goes, "What do you want to bet?" He goes, "I bet that motorcycle right there." He goes all the way back into town, picks the kid up, drives another hour and a half back out to the ranch. He's feeding the kid water. Didn't let him go to the bathroom when he woke up. The kid stands there, drops his pants, pees so high it goes about 8 feet over the guy's head. They put the motorbike in the back of the car. They go home.
Wow.
Or when Seth Rogen told Charlize Theron that he had worked with Stormy Daniels, she loses her shit.
Yes. Yes. Oh, man.
Because Stormy Daniels is in The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up. Not Knocked Up. What's the one with the asshole from Grey's Anatomy?
Heigl.
Yeah. Is that Knocked Up?
Super bad? No.
No, it wasn't
that's
super
good.
bad. I will admit that I do like 27 Dresses, but I mean, we all know that I have my man card's been gone for years.
Your man card went away when you and I had a conversation about Twilight on one of our shows.
That is true. Last thing we're going to go, last part
It
of
is Knocked Up. I just looked it up.
Last thing that we're going to ask, and you guys are going to be a little blindsided by this. And Mike, I was going to lead in with this with you. Sporting event every year, no matter what it is, you cannot miss.
There is one day a year that my wife knows. There are no plans. There is no disturbing. There is one thing and one thing only, and that is the game. The Saturday after Thanksgiving, the greatest rivalry in all of sport. Not college football, all of sport. Funny story. I have a 43-inch 4K Ultra HD TV from LG that I got with my points from my job. The 2018 game, the 60 bomb that ended the Revenge Tour, that was the first sporting event I watched on that TV. My father-in-law was up from Florida. He said we're going to be at my brother-in-law's house on Saturday, and my wife looked at me from the couch. And the look on her face said two things. One, I miss my dad. Two, I really don't want to end up divorced. It's the one day a year. Every World Series in 2015, we had stuff to do, we did it. Finals in 2016, we did it. Sugar Bowl and championship game in 2014 and 2015, didn't matter. That game is the one day, and it's all I ask.
I had a feeling it was either going to be that or Mets opening day every year.
No, that's my job. I take the day off every year.
Mr. Ruiz, you are up.
I think for me, without a doubt, it's got to be MLB opening day. Not just for the White Sox, but just baseball in general, because I'm a fiend and will watch it from sun up to sundown. So I kind of tend to do the same thing, or kind of planning it accordingly with my job. If I can, swing the entire day off, I will. But if not, I at least work a half day and we'll just indulge from 11 a.m. till 12 p.m. watching anybody and everybody on national TV or the MLB TV app.
So you're not relegating it exclusively to the Sox.
No, because I'll watch them, but there's been times where there's just a better game or a better matchup, and I'm much more inclined to watch that better matchup than what's going on here in town. Unless in town here is something to definitely be must see.
What about you, dude?
Again, I'm going to go way off the board. Mike, you've known me a long time. You want to take a guess?
Well, you did threaten the lives of people for the Indy 500.
You're right. There's your answer.
Yeah, the Indy 500.
Every year, it's actually become a habit to where I will put my phone in airplane mode. I will say, don't call, don't text, don't write. If somebody's dead, I'm sending a proxy. I do not miss the Indy 500 every single year.
I'm sending a proxy.
My
I
goal
love
is
the intensity.
my goal is hopefully next year I'm sitting amongst the 300,000. It's just one of those things I've always wanted to do. It's a 4-hour drive. I don't even have to be in the grandstands. I could be in the snake pit. As long as Juan Pablo Dickbag is not winning the race, it's for whatever reason I just can't stand the guy when he was on IndyCar first time. I couldn't stand him when he was in NASCAR. It's but yeah, what a great race this past weekend. That's actually why I was hoping we could have done this last week.
I wish I could have, but I had to get them taken care of.
But just I want to do the whole weekend. I want to do carb day on Friday. I want to do final qualifying and practice on Saturday. I want to be there for Sing Me Home Indiana, before the race. And even though I'm not a religious man, it's the invocation, gentlemen, start your engines. I'd much rather do that than the Brickyard or Talladega, just because it's first of all, the cars aren't nearly as loud, and secondly, Indy will reach 220 miles an hour down that front straight. It's just the bricks and everything. I grew up on Ray Hall and Unser and Scott Goodyear and Fittipaldi, and the newer guys like Scott Dixon, and and Brian and Brian Herta's kid, who I don't know if you guys saw, had a nasty crash on Friday. It's
No.
like he hit the wall and the car went upside down and skidded about a good 300 feet on the roof. And they redesigned those cars to where now it's not just a sheer pane of glass. It's like it goes around to where it's like a cockpit.
Oh, good.
Okay.
And those steering wheels, I was watching part of the race the week before with my dad. Did you know that those steering wheels on those cars, unlike NASCAR, are $75,000 a piece?
What?
Because
I did not know that either.
Because the gear differentials, the fuel strategy, everything is all wired into those steering wheels, which is why you actually see, like, during the race, the first thing they'll do is they'll pop those wheels off, because number one, they can't get out of their car, and number two, that's actually what kind of can kill the car with everything. It'll kill the entire system. But yeah, for me, it's got to be Indy. It's a World Series, Stanley Cup, anything, it doesn't matter. My Blues could actually be in the playoffs that day. If the Indy 500's on, I ain't going anywhere. I almost actually ended up being late for Double or Nothing at my buddy's place because I wanted to make sure the race ended on time.
Score update. Francisco Lindor just took Walker Buehler deep.
About time.
Shut up. Well, gentlemen, I don't mean to kill the revival, but this old man's going to turn into a pumpkin. I've been up for a long time today.
Sorry, real quick, just checking on the hockey game. And God, I hope the Avalanche don't sweep the Oilers, but it looks like it's going to happen.
Who the hell do the Rangers think they are?
Yeah, going home to MSG. No, they're going to Tampa up.
They're going to Tampa now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm tired of Tampa's bullshit anyway, so we got to get something else.
Yo, don't say that Tones will hunt you down.
Yeah, but for me,
it's nothing personal, you know.
Yeah, but for me, Tampa three-peating would be kind of cool because it hasn't happened since the Red Wings in the late 90s or early 2000s. But yet, you're right. It's Tampa's bullshit up against the Rangers. So for me, it's like cheering syphilis versus gonorrhea. Which one's gonna win? Sorry,
Well,
I'm an
I can tell
Islanders.
you're an Islanders fan.
Yeah, because the Bolts knocked us out of the final, out of the Eastern Conference Finals each of the last 2 years. And if you know the Rangers suck, clap your hands. If you know the Rangers suck, clap your hands. If you know the Rangers suck and they'll never win the cup, if you know the Rangers suck, clap your hands.
He's
It's a chant at the Islanders games for the last 30 years. I think going all the way back to the Denny Potvin era.
Oh, yeah. No,
Well,
before Denny Potvin.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, we weren't old enough to remember that, but we weren't even born yet.
But it was.
Right. So, gentlemen, Mike is right. He's going to turn into a pumpkin. I actually still have another one of these that's calling my name because this one is not Cole anymore. And we still have probably a few more games on TV somewhere that we can end up watching.
The Mets are
So, gentlemen, I'm going to let you plug whatever you need to. Alex, I'm going to start with you, my friend.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for having me on the show. It's been great. It's awesome being a part of the Wise Guys Sports Show. Just cracking jokes and having some cold beverages. But you can find me at Roast 7 Podcast. Putting out content whenever I can. It's kind of getting a little hectic as of late with work and life in general. But Roast 7 Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, all your major podcast outlets. Putting out some quality content, some fiery takes, and some passionate takes about my Chicago White Sox that drive me insane.
And those of you watching this, that website address that is below Alex's name right now, that's actually the easiest one that I could find that was shortest that's got him in there, where it's not like 90,000 different letters in it, like if you were searching on Google or Odyssey.
Correct. Or if you go to my Twitter handle right here, right next to my name, there's a link that will take you directly to my podcast page as well too. So feel free to tune in. Feel free to send me your takes, and we'll go from there.
Nezzy, my brother, you're up.
Well, as always, Big Rican can be found. Well, as part, listen, the Wise Guys Show, we're going to do two. Hopefully we can do 2 a month. One on my page, Jim, where it's nice and tame, kind of.
That's no fun.
And then one on here when we just lose our minds. Upcoming, I will finally get that Mets episode up next week. It's going to be on Saturday. It's going to go up because Friday night is Zachary's senior prom. So I will be preoccupied with that. I am going to extend the invitation here. Alex, Big Rican Baseball Show, All-Star Special. Me, you, Willie. We'll find some other people. You down?
Done.
But as always, Big Rican can be found on YouTube at Big Rican on Sports, Twitter, which you see right there. Anchor is the main engine of this thing, but also Spotify is one of the video podcasts, which, oh, by the way, a month after our mock draft actually became available. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't like our Bill Cosby jokes.
Deal with it, because that's why this episode's here, because I don't give a shit.
I know you don't. And the Wise Guys Show, once a month on my page, once a month on Jim's page, and we are going to sprinkle in some other content for this coming summer, and we're going to get baseball, and we are going to get a special guest in the next few weeks. I will reach out to them. I will get them on the show. I think we should do a 4-pack with our other buddy we had on last time.
Yeah, and we're not. I don't want to jinx it, but we are going to kind of put it out there into the universe. If we can get this person that we're hoping for, you guys are going to be in for a real treat, because this person,
she's great.
Yeah, they hit a home run every single time. Awesome. As always, you can actually find me at the site below. I promise I will finally get some new content going up. I have not written anything in about 3 weeks. It's not for lack of trying. It's just motivation's not been there. Naturally, summer coming on and everything kind of got my hands going a lot of other places. I promise I will have something up here within the next couple of days, regardless of what it might be. You can always follow me on Twitter below. And also on the blog, you'll be able to link directly to this page. If you forget to subscribe here, it'll also link to my Facebook page, and also that'll actually give you access to the sub page for the Wise Guys Show, so you can go back and listen to and watch all other Wise Guys shows, including our draft show with Alex, including our special show with Willie a couple of weeks ago, and then the other episodes we've done with Alex before. We can almost kind of consider this like, Wise Guys Elite, so to speak, with the three of us here. I know before too long we're going to definitely try to have a 4-man booth, bringing Willie on, and again that special guest we hopefully have coming up here. But gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure. I know we ran way, way long tonight, but well worth it. We actually said we were going to kick back, we were going to relax, and nobody's really got to be up. Well, I know, Mike, you got to be up a little bit tomorrow morning, but hey, it's Sunday. It's, you can push a couple of things back if you need to.
Have you met Ethan before?
One of these times we're actually going to have to open it up, and the missus and the kids are going to have to come on. We were talking before we went on the air. My dad may actually want to be coming on here as we get closer to Overrated State season. Alex can bring on whoever he wants to. Willie, I know he's got his connections. So for any of you out there who watch and are interested in joining us for an episode, I can actually host up to 6 people on this channel at a time. And I know Alex and Mike have actually been possibly interested in joining up with Restream a little bit here. So the opportunity's there. And again, I want to thank Alex very much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. I'm sorry it was on a little bit of short notice here towards the end of the week, but I hope you had just as much fun as we did.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to many future shows down the road and just kind of having a good time, having the ability to just let loose and just kick back.
Absolutely. This is this actually, we can almost kind of call this free for all number 1, so to speak, because one of many. Beautiful. Well, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Mike, you need to get to bed. I know, Alex, it's probably getting pretty late for you here as well.
It's 9:30 for him.
It is 9:30, but I'm about to go kick my feet up on the couch, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's here goes man card number 2 gone. I still have a Hallmark movie to watch, so shut up. I could be going to see Top Gun with my dad here in the next couple of nights. So, fun fact, second movie I ever saw in the theater was the first one. 8 years old, watching Top Gun in the theater. Couldn't watch half of it because my parents were covering my eyes.
One scene.
Yeah, but I actually had to wait for it to come out on VHS before I actually saw Greetings, because they wouldn't let me see. They didn't want an 8-year-old seeing him flipping the bird upside down.
Finger.
Yep. I hate when it does that. I can't control it.
All right,
gentlemen, have yourself a great night. We will actually see you all here very, very soon. Mike and I will be back with you here hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And again, you'll have a new sports note coming up a little later on this week. Gentlemen, again, it's been a pleasure. Everyone have yourself a wonderful evening. Take care out there.